Okay, in this part 3, I'll show you how to arrange the smoke trails vertically. Hopefully I can rotate this like this. Okay, I'm going to line them down like this. This would be good for, let's say, a helicopter. Let's say if you want the smoke trail to see how they behave. Yeah. So in this tutorial I'll show you how to do that. Again, this is part 3. Make sure you watch part 1 because I'm going to be using the same mail script, but this time I'm going to change them a little bit so that they behave in the vertical direction, up and down. Okay, now I'm not going to change these two code. The next one is, let's say this time I don't want the smoke trails to be to line up along the y-axis like this. Okay, this time I want to be along the z-axis. For example, like these two guys. It's hard to select. I want them to line along the z-axis, and this time it's not going to be horizontal anymore. It's going to be W, because W is along the x-axis. Now it's no longer Y. I'm going to go X. Next, I'll keep this one same because I want these smoke trails to either start in the middle, on the edge, or on this edge. Okay, so that's why I want to keep it Z rest. Next one, I'll keep the same one. Okay, next part is right here. If this is X, then you have to change this to Y index. They are opposite of each other. Okay, and I'll show you what this number mean once I finish the code. Next is, there's no more Y index. It's going to be along the X index, which is right here. And every time you hear the word index, it means where you want it to start. Okay, that's why I'm going to change this to X index. And make sure you also change this one also to X res. Keep everything same. The Z, I'm not changing it, so keep it same. Okay, now let's start right here. Since I want the smoke trails to line up along the X-axis, okay, that means it's based on the resolution, so I have to change this one to $X index. Okay. Next is the Y. Do I want let me show you what this part means. Yeah, let me keep it like that. Okay, now let me change. Okay, now the Z, do I want to be in the middle, all the way here, or all the way here? Since let's say I want to be half of it, and I know that my fluid container, I select it, scroll it up, and the Z-axis is going to be 30. Okay, so I'm going to change half of it will be 15. Right, we'll hit edit. Okay, I'm going to error. So let's change this one to, try this to 0. Okay, yeah, you have to change this to 0. Let me show you what it means. Another thing is this, notice how the fluid goes along this way. Okay, whenever you do a vertical trail, you have to select the fluid shape, go down to content details right here. On the density, you have to change this to -1. Okay, and hit play. Like that. Okay, now I know it's going to look different. That's because right now what I'm telling it to do is I'm telling Maya where to start the smoke trail. Well, if I tell it to start at 0, that means to start all the way down here. Okay, my resolution, I know it's 30. Okay, so make sure you don't put 30. I think if you put 30, you're going to be out of range. So I'm going to put 29. Like that. Or I could, let's say 25. So now if I hit edit, I'm going to rewind and play. So now, you see how at 30, it's going to be all the way up at the ceiling. My cursor. Up at the ceiling. Here, let me try. Let's see if 30 works. Sometimes it's out of range. Edit. Okay, yeah, it doesn't, yeah, see, out of range, so make sure you pick anything less than 30. Say 20, 25 is fine. Rewind. And that's what happened. Okay, so first of all, like I said, whenever you want to do a vertical trail, you make sure you hit the buoyancy to -1, If I put 1, then you know it's going to go up. See, like that. Okay, so make sure it's -1. And you don't need to change your gravity. I know up here you have the gravity. Let's say I scroll up. I think it's under dynamic simulation. Yeah, I keep the same. Okay, 9.8. And this part tells where you want the smoke trail to start. Okay, this part right here tells the smoke trails to line up along the x-axis. That's why whenever I said wherever you want to line up along the axis has to be the word index, and where you want to start has to be a number. In this case, I want to be in the middle. Again, it has to be a number. It can't be an index. Okay. So let me change. Let me see. Let's say I change this to 5. Edit. And rewind. So now the smoke is much more denser. Okay, like that. And also right here, this is the velocity, where you want the velocity to start. Okay, now let's say I change this to, I know that the resolution is, what was it, 30, so I'm going to change 15. Now let me change this back to 3. Edit. You see right there? The way I remember, I know this set is the velocity where it starts. Okay, it starts right here at 15. Okay, but in reality, the way I remember, I think of it as where do you want the fluid to stop. In this case, it stops right here, like that. So that's why it won't go down, and that's why you have to tell it to go all the way down. Let's say I want to go all the way down to 5. Okay, don't forget to hit edit every time. And it's going to stop right there. Okay, and yeah, even though it said it's an index, it's actually where it starts, but the way I like to think of it is where it starts. Okay, so let me go back to 0. Edit. Let me try again this number. 5. Let me see something. 26. Okay, here's one interesting thing. If you open the velocity under content details, velocity. Now let's say here, let me minimize this. Let me edit, and I can minimize this. Under velocity, you have 3 numbers. Okay, I'll show you something really interesting. Okay, see how if along the x-axis, if it's 0, then the fluid cannot go beyond, spread them out. Okay, that's why here is 0. So that's why they get stuck right there in the weird thing. Okay, now let's say if I go back to 1, you can't do the y, because if you do y, then you don't see anything. Say it changes to 0. Then you know it's going to look like that. Okay, because it won't allow it to go anywhere along the z-axis, like that. So now also in the next in this part, I'll show you. Let me go back to change this to 1. Okay, now let's say you don't want them to line up like this. You want to line up along the z-axis. Okay, let me open the mail command, and this time, yeah, I want to be W, because which is the x-axis. And I want to line up along the z-axis, so I keep this command. What I'm going to do is change. Okay, now this time what I want to do is let me set these 2 guys. Well, actually I'm going to set one of them. Okay, now this time I want the smoke trail to line up along the z-axis, and like I said, wherever you want to line up, it can be a number. It has to be the word index, so $z index. And then the next question is, where along the x-axis do you want it to be halfway? You want to be halfway here, here, or here? Okay, anytime halfway along a certain axis, it has to be a number. So in this case, it's the x-axis. So I'm going to change it. I know that my whole resolution is 90, so I'm going to go with 45. And I'll keep the the y the same. Edit. So rewind. So now it's going to be like that. Okay. That's what happened. So let's say, let me move these two guys out. Let's say I want to be, let's say 5 along the x-axis. Then you know it's going to be over here. Like that. Okay. So that's how you do it. And then let me put it back to 45. I forgot to change one very important thing. Anytime when you want the smoke trail to be vertical, you have to change not only the buoyancy, but also one very important thing is you have to change right here. Okay, now since I don't want it to be limited along the y-axis, so I have to change to none, and it changes to both sides. Okay, meaning that there's no boundary along the y-axis. Okay, well, I also forgot to show you something, and then if you can change some of these settings. Let's say let's try 0. Let's see what happens. See, it won't allow it to go along the x-axis. Say change to 1, and let's say it changes to 0. Like that. Also, what you can do is increase a little bit diffusion. Right there. Okay, if it's 0, say if it goes much higher, then you will become more like that. So if you go back to 0. Yeah, okay, now let me change pause it. Now what I need to do is show you this part right here. If let's say I change this one to, let's say 5, edit, we'll rewind, you will see something interesting. See how it becomes like curly smoke? Let me move this guy out of the way. See how the smoke kind of like want to turn in a circle like that? That's what happened when you change the velocity. Okay, now let's say I go the other way, -5. Oops, sorry. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. It's weird. Mine is kind of weird. I know that this, go back to 0. This number doesn't do much. If you change it, it won't show up. Yeah. So anyway, on my previous one I did, when I changed it made the swirl much nicer, but for some reason this Maya it doesn't show up. Okay. So anyway, this concludes the tutorial, and thank you for watching.